Next, we'll have Commissioner Peter Wood from ANC 1C03. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much. So my name is Peter Wood. I'm an advisory neighborhood commissioner in single member District 3 and Adams Morgan, which of course means I'm a Ward 1 resident. And today I want to bring further attention to the drastic cuts made to services, or suggested to be made to services for survivors of domestic violence, and advocate against those proposed budget cuts. The first thing I want to emphasize is inconsistencies. Overall, the mayor's proposed budget for fiscal year 2024 is down 1.3% from the previous year. And yet in the social service sector, we see cuts of 20% up to 60%. That doesn't add up. And more importantly, it puts lives at further risk. It also doesn't reflect the trend for how the federal government is approaching similar issues. Federal funding for victim services has increased, and in some cases is at record levels. This is not to say I'm ignorant of the reality of budget decisions. Sadly, not every worthy investment can get the funding needed every year. Sometimes compromises are necessary. But to disproportionately put the burden of those compromises on service providers who directly and immediately keep people safe from harm is immoral and fiscally irresponsible. Let me focus on that second point just a little longer, fiscal responsibility. Survivors of domestic violence encounter many obstacles in the journey toward regaining normalcy and justice. When a government reduces investments in much needed services that facilitate individuals during the recovery process, it increases the likelihood that additional, often more costly expenses will be needed later on. And it exacerbates risk factors which incur non-financial tolls like stress, worry, hunger, physical and emotional exhaustion, barriers to legal representation, and even self-harm. Disproportionately denying domestic violence funding is as wasteful as it is hurtful in both the short and long term. There are specific areas of need that must be accounted for in this and every DC budget. Housing is a fundamental area, and I urge council to invest an additional $18 million to ensure survivors of domestic violence have fair access to both permanent and transitional settings. As public servants, it is our responsibility to ensure those who need a place to stay safe are able to find one quickly and economically. I also suggest council allocates an additional $5 million for organizations and their programming for supporting domestic violence survivors. Our investments are futile if we don't support trained professionals who guide intended beneficiaries through the bureaucratic process. As it currently stands, the 2024 budget would cut some programs by 50 up to 100%. This would be a debilitating blow to a sector of work that is already underfunded. Mental health is another area in desperate need of budget prioritization. That can start by increasing the budget by $1 million to hire full and part-time mental health practitioners who will focus on the needs of those directly affected by domestic violence. Like other forms of violence, domestic violence does more than simply hurt a person's body. It damages their psychological well-being in ways that, left untreated, can create a dark hole that is increasingly difficult to escape. I won't stand for that, and neither should you. I further want to call attention to the need for legal services to be sufficiently funded for survivors of domestic violence. Having predictable access to legal representation and counsel plays a fundamental role in disrupting downward cycles following domestic violence. It helps ensure survivors don't miss court dates, that they understand complex legal obstacles more clearly, and that the cost of pursuing closure after injustice doesn't lead to poverty and incarceration. And I'll just close on an anecdote. I'm an ANC commissioner, and as other commissioners know, that means people come to me with their problems. It can be humbling, but it's also so valuable in making sure all voices are acknowledged. I recently caught up with some constituents of mine who have been going through some tough times. Last week, one of them got in an argument with her boyfriend. That boyfriend abruptly kicked her out of their apartment. She slept on the sidewalk and woke up to swollen ankles following a night with near freezing temperatures. Hungry and tired, she kept apologizing to me because she hadn't taken a shower in a while and didn't smell her best. If you want to truly, deeply comprehend just what chronic suffering feels like, it is this. It is people, flawed but honest, who are too tired to speak up for themselves, too tired to fight back, too tired to resist urges to give up. Some do, some don't. And it's up to us to make the fight towards a dignified life easier. It is up to us to invest in 2024 and beyond in the future of our city. Thank you, and I look forward to receiving your support.